What's up, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of Live with. Today, we're sitting down with the Gentleman Wake, aka our good friend Omar, who currently has a beautiful, artistic, eye-capturing, amazing deck on Kickstarter here called the Successor playing cards. If you have not checked this out, first and foremost, I think the coolest part about it is you actually collabed with Kevin Cantrell on this one, making this one of my favorite two people coming together to make a deck. But that being said, this is a spectacular deck for the ages. For anyone who hasn't checked it out yet, the link is down in the description below. We ready to jump into this, boys?
Let's do it.
Yep,
Let's do it. So as you can tell, Omar, I gotta say, there are not enough descriptors to explain how beautiful this deck is. Not only have you guys really spent tons of time on this deck, and we'll dive into how long this actually took to come to fruition here, but you really, it just comes out in such a what's the word I'm looking for? Artistic, just beautiful way that harkens back to those medieval times that I think everyone out there really kind of gravitates towards. I know a big thing for you is also the tabletop games, RPGs. I think that fantasy vibe really comes through of what we all picture as medieval times on here. This project, how long have you been working on this project?
Yeah, and thank you very much, first of all, and thanks for having me. Number one, I really appreciate that.
You're always the most polite guest.
I love sitting down with you guys and talking. I could talk for hours with you guys about all this stuff. So I'm happy to do it on camera for the fans at home to kind of get a sense.
Always great having you on, buddy.
Thank you. So yeah, man. I mean, you're absolutely right to pick up those hints, those tones from the deck, because those are things that we absolutely 100% planned. So I'm happy that that's coming across. The deck started out as an email exchange between myself and Kevin Cantrell. It was shortly after the Parlor had launched. I was looking for a second project. I wanted something to kind of line up after the Parlor. Little did I know that it would be the third project that I would release. But that's how these things happen, right? You underestimate. I think when you're starting out, Lorenzo was so quick with his design work on the Parlor that I kind of got the sense that that's how it went, but it obviously that's not how it goes.
Definitely not. He's not the norm. Yeah, he's not the norm.
And wow, and we could talk about this ad nauseum, but man, I got lucky as heck working with that man for my first deck campaign. But anyway, I reached out to Kevin Cantrell and I said, "Hey, Kevin, my name is the Gentleman Wake. I have a YouTube channel dedicated to playing cards. And also I just released this campaign and we raised quite a bit of money, and I'm looking to hire an artist. What's your rate? And that's the conversation. That's how it started. And he was very reluctant at the beginning, and I think he'll tell you this. Like, he'll say, well, every time I do a deck of playing cards, I kind of want to retire from it because it's so much work. It's so intense.
We all?
Yeah, it's so intense. There's so much work involved, but he ends up always kind of getting coerced back into the dark side, so to speak. And I managed over the course of a couple of emails to convince him that I was A, serious about this project, and B, that I had the financial means to hire him, because he does not come cheap. He's a very established, highly successful designer, and he's got a tremendous resume, not just in the playing cards world, but also in the playing cards world. Yep. And I just swung for the fences, and somehow I convinced the man to say yes. Right. So then over the course of the next couple of months, we kind of ironed out the details of our arrangement, and we started to talk about creative, and at that point we threw around a couple of names. I think the first name for a deck, and it may still happen one day at some point, was the Gentleman Vagabond. That was going to be the title of the deck. It was going to be called the Gentleman Vagabond. But over the course of time, these things happen when you're sitting with a designer and you're being creative and you come up with different options, and we arrived at the Successor. And I remember telling him what I liked about the Successor was the symmetry in the word. Number one, it's a cool fucking word, right? It's a word that means a lot of things and has a lot of connotations. The word success is in the word. That's fucking cool. And on top of that, it was going to be the second deck. hey, the Successor makes a lot of sense for a second deck after the Parlor, right?
Yeah.
I guess it works for the third deck too, but at the time, the process, it felt like this is a better idea, right? Like this is a good idea, better than Gentleman Vagabond. It just makes more sense. And then I was like, hey, and the symmetry in the word Successor just kind of lends itself with the double C's and the double S's and the O and the E in the middle. It kind of lends itself to an ambigram. And he had never done an ambigram before, and it piqued his interest. It was like, oh, that is cool. Let me think about that. So that's how it started. It started as a conversation between a couple of guys 2 years ago. And in the interim, obviously, the Tempest happened because I realized very, very, very quickly that Kevin's process, that he was a busy man and that his process involved more time than I was used to. Luckily, Lautrec at the time.
Please, you dealt with Lautrec. You're used
I
to
know,
that.
but here's the crazy thing about Lautrec. Lautrec is not slow when it comes to design work.
Yeah.
No.
He's actually quite fast.
He's slow on the production side.
It's on the production side that things tend to slow down, and that's fine. I think what he does best is design anyway, right? Like ultimately, that's what he does best. His cards are beautiful, but ultimately, I think his design is really what got him.
He's next level,
right? So, I was surprised and lucky to grab Lautrec at the right moment, right where he could devote some time to creating a deck, and that's how the Tempest came to be. And the Tempest was very much a shoot from the hip project. The difference between the Successor and the Tempest is vast. Not in quality per se, but in just the way we went about it. Like, I don't even want to say execution, just the way we went about it. Like, Tempest was a very shoot from the hip deck. It was like, hey, I got an idea. It's I want to do something based on Houdini, and I want to do something where Houdini has a show that he calls The Tale of the Tempest, and it's like this water themed show. That was the initial idea, right? I sent him some references for some Houdini posters and some artwork, some general artwork from that period, and he was like, yeah, I love it. Let's do it. Let's go. So that became the Great Wylenti, obviously a fictional character, and he created the back design and the tuck case, and we didn't have the Dynasty deck designed at all until like halfway through the campaign. So just to give you an idea of how from the hip everything was, like we were discussing ideas for the tuck box like 2 weeks into the project. Like we hadn't even, gotten that far. But and things ended up working out. Lautrec, always pulls it out somehow. And his, number one, the back design is beautiful on that deck. I loved it, and it furthered the brand. It was consistent with what we'd done prior to it with the Parlor. It was a good follow-up. We raised $194,000 on Kickstarter. Phenomenal, right? So all the while, all this stuff is going on, and the Successor is being worked on. So it took a solid year, probably before. It took about 6 months before I started to see stuff. And then obviously there's always refinement and revision, and we're talking about things, and we decided that we wanted to. At first, I was a little scared of the ambigram because I thought ambigrams tend to be hard to read. If people don't have the name recognition, the Successor, are they going to be confused? Is it going to be clear? Is it going to be evident? One of the best examples of a confusing ambigram is the Stranger deck by Art of Play.
Yeah,
I can never read it.
Yeah,
I can never read it. I can never read it. On the other hand, Raven is a phenomenal ambigram, right? Against Lorenzo with his killer design work.
Yeah.
But anyway, my point is like I wanted to be somewhere, closer to Raven than Stranger, right? So the Successor ambigram that he ended up creating is very close to the one that ended up being final. But I worried that it was going to be too difficult to read, too difficult to understand. So I went back on it, and we did another kind of ambigram, which is the S ambigram, the hourglass S, that ended up being the design in the cards, on the cards. So that's how it went, and we went back and forth a bit. There was a lot of me just saying, "Hey, that's really cool," because Kevin Cantrell is a ridiculously talented guy, and he understood what the tone was, but also brought a lot to the pick. Like he had ideas, and he had like more so than any other artist that I've worked with. It was a lot of just letting him do his thing. You know, there was I interfered a lot less, I think, with his project than maybe I would have with the Tempest or even the Parlor, where we had a lot of back and forth about, hey, like, this is interesting, this is cool. Not to say anything about those designers, because they're brilliant, and where they ended up is phenomenal. But yeah, but Kevin had the strong ideas from the very beginning, which I was happy to go with.
I mean, he's definitely a different beast. You know, I don't know. I mean, I've worked a lot with you know, designers, graphic designers that do private labels and stuff like that, and that's how their mind works. You give them an idea about something, and they take it to the branding, the whole entire branding package. You know,
And that's what I would say. I would almost say Kevin's evolved beyond a graphic designer. He is a brand creator. And for anyone who doesn't know Kevin's work, obviously, you know, we alluded a little bit that he's done some amazing stuff in the past. He's done some more for Art of Play. We actually had him on in a previous episode where he really dove into a lot of what his process is and what he does. And he is someone who, when a company, big or small, wants to really either rebrand or create a brand, they go to him and creates the whole suite of what they need to be visual. And it's amazing. It really is amazing. It's not just like, he's not the guy sitting there doodling it together. I mean, he is, but he's also the guy at the top level saying, this is the direction we're going.
Yeah,
this is the message.
His approach is about systems. He talked about it the other day. And he loves to create systems within the brand, within the product, right? And he did that effectively. Like on the Successor itself, just like, for instance, one of the best systems that he created, let's see if it comes into focus, is this Successor kind of title in these little windows, these little architectural windows. And this props up, this design element comes up in several. It's on the bottom of top of every deck, and it comes up on the bottom. It's just a system that works. That's easy to kind of pull off.
Yeah, it looks so clean.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool.
He's brilliant like that too.
Yeah, he and also, like, one of the things that he's very good at is he found a bunch of research material and was able to kind of evoke that material very, very well. Like, there's no doubt that we are basing the artwork is based around 14th and 15th century European artwork, because that's what it says. That's what there's no doubt. You look at it, it's obvious that that's
a very big like Knights Templar vibe.
Exactly. Which was you know, he talks a lot about the War of the Roses being an inspiration to him on this deck. So I think there is definitely that, you know, that 14th century, 15th century English clash of succession, you know, that idea of like, hey, so that went on for a long time. And concurrently with that, once I started to get designs from him, obviously the production aspect started to kick up, and part of the reason, I would say, about a year into the campaign, about a year into the process, we already had the deck 90%, 95% a year ago. But
yeah, I mean, I remember when we had you on for the Tempest.
Yeah,
you were showing.
You were showing,
yeah, it was already ready.
Boxes
it was ready
and everything.
But things happened, and the Tempest got delayed. Famously, everybody knows. We had some issues with customs. We had some issues with shipping. We had some issues with just general, you know, delays, where we had to reprint the Dynasty decks, and Lautrec had some trouble with that. And you know, but we were able to finally fulfill way past where we wanted to be, but we fulfilled. And part of that also gave me an opportunity to work on the production aspect of it, because as our artistic creative process developed, came ideas for things that ended up being in the final product that are part of the final product now, like the metal sculptures and all that stuff. And all that stuff takes a ungodly amount of time to produce. I remember going to Art of Play and sitting with Dan Buck talking about the standards box set. And I said, hey, Dan, how long did this take? It's on YouTube. It's on the YouTube video that I did, my interview with him. How long did this take? And he was like, oh, this was years in the making. And I remember thinking, oh, shit, years in the making. Damn, I don't ever want to be years in the making of a deck.
Little did you know.
Little did I know, because, you know, we set out to basically make a better version of what the standards box was halfway through, right? Like, I knew I wanted to have a box set about a couple months into the process, and I thought it would be great to do it. And I sent Kevin a picture of the sarcophagus where Aragorn is buried in Lord of the Rings.
Nice.
And it's a stone sarcophagus, but it's got Aragorn on, covered in, and he's holding a sword or whatever. And I was like, damn, this is really fucking cool. How cool would it be if I could make a box that has like a metal sculpture, gold plated metal sculpture on the lid, that does something like this, that creates this vibe. And then it was an obsession to figure out how to create that, and what an ordeal that was. First things first, you got to design it, right? So Kevin Cantrell designed it. He basically made the 2D version, right? He said, hey, this is what I see the top of this sarcophagus looking like, right? This coffin. And then I took that, and I actually ended up using two different sculptors during the process. One sculpted the release sculpt on the Monarch deck, as well as the one that you're going to use on the Prism deck as well. This beautiful coronation.
Yeah.
This is based on Kevin's artwork 1-to-1. Like, if you see it on the back of the card, on the back of the box, it's identical. Like this artist, her name is Tatev. She managed to 100% accurately portray this in 3 dimensions.
That's awesome.
Really cool. But also, I reached out to Lorenzo and I asked him who had sculpted his House of the Rising Spade box sets.
Yeah.
And he gave me the name Simone Rassetti, and I reached out to Simone and I said, hey Simone, I've got this thing that I want to do. I want to do this sculptural relief lid that looks like a king, and a dead king, a tomb, and he's like, oh, this is really cool, whatever. I sent him the artwork, and he's like, all right, this is what I charge. I paid him, and he just went to work, and he came back with a very early render of what it was. And I was like, I don't even have to give you notes. Like, this is awesome. Like, keep doing it, So he went to work and ended up completing the process. And then it was, how do I get this made, right? Because it weighs like a pound. It weighs like a pound and a half. It also has a lot of depth and a lot of detail, right? Like, it's got a shit ton of depth and detail. It's thick at its thickest point. It's easily 2 inches, right? It's like 2 inches of
it's crazy.
This is gonna sound fucked up. Girth.
It's so good looking though.
But he did that, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. How do I get this made? So I reached out to the people that I had worked with, the metal manufacturers I had worked with, on the metal card, and they were already doing the coronation sculpt for my deck, because I knew that I wanted to do that. And they were like, oh, we can do it if it's, I don't remember what it was, 27 millimeters thickness. And I'm like, 27 millimeters thickness. How thick is this? Shit, this is 35 millimeters thick. We can't, how do we do this? How do I get this design realized? So I don't know. In you go into problem solving mode, and this is absolutely 100% necessary if you ever plan on launching a Kickstarter campaign of any kind, or a business of any kind. You must solve problems. How did I solve the problem? I had Simone separate the figure from the background. So the figure is less than 27 millimeters thick, and the background is less than 27 millimeters thick. So I figured, hey, if the figure and the background are separate, we can do 2 passes and attach one to the other. So that's literally what's happening. Nice. The figure and the title is one piece, and the background plate is another piece, and there's 3 screw holes. And I had to explain to the manufacturer that I needed to have 3 screw holes, and where the screw holes had to be, and how thick the screws were going to be, and how long they needed to protrude, all that stuff, and what nut and what bolt are we going to use to tighten this down and attach these things. And of course, that allows you again to also attach the wood, laminated, the lacquered wood in the back, and also covered with this vegan leather, right? All of that happened over the course of months, where I had to kind of like solve that problem. But it was very satisfying to solve the problem. What wasn't satisfying was to get the samples and realize that these blank corners down here, as attractive as they looked in the design, were not attractive. Why? Because flat spaces, and you can barely make it out, right?
Yeah.
Flat spaces, when you buff them, when you shine metal, what happens is you get these scuff marks, and it's perfectly smooth. You cannot feel them.
Yeah.
Like, this is not something you can feel, but when I saw it, I was like, damn, in certain light, it looks fine. You can't tell. But if you look at it, you're going to see it.
Yeah.
This is unacceptable. It was unacceptable because I knew that I was going to be charging $400+ for this. I didn't know how much exactly it was going to cost me at the time, but I knew that at least $400 it was going to be, this product was going to cost that. I could not in good conscience allow for a product to go out to people's hands that cost as much as it did, that had any kind of imperfection, no matter how impossible it was to get out. Right, because we explored other opportunities. Like, hey, can you buff it more? Can you shine it more? Well, no, and it's also a language barrier of dealing with, we manufacture this in Guangzhou, China, right? So, dealing with Guangzhou, dealing with manufacturers there, and the language barrier. They speak English, but not great, and using a lot of Google Translate, right? It was unacceptable to me, and they couldn't figure it out. So I went back to Simone Rassetti and I told Simone, I said, hey, we need to do something here. I want you to add, I didn't want to bother Kevin. Kevin was busy. Kevin was very busy with his work and his things that are going on. He's got a Lord of the Rings deck. It's widely known that he's producing a Lord of the Rings deck that he created, and he was working deep. He was deep in the middle of that, and I didn't have time to really wait, right? Because I knew that we needed to get this done. So I called Simone Rassetti and I told Simone, I said, hey, I need you to fill the corners with something. And he was like, well, I can do like an undulating pattern. I said, it doesn't really fit the vibe. Like, in my mind, when I think of a king being laid to rest, it's among wreaths of flowers and vines, and you know what I'm saying, like laid on a bed of vegetation that has been finely manicured and plucked and created for this dead king to rest on. So I had him use the same filigree that we see up here in the corners of the upper part, which looks so good, and fill in the bottom.
Nice.
And it really made 100% difference. And I wish you could see it better, because ultimately, there you go. Yeah. Ultimately, and this is so shiny that it's hard to it's like so bright. But he filled in those corners, and the difference between one and the other.
Oh yeah, night and day.
Yeah, the left almost looks unfinished at that point, and that's
exactly,
amazing.
Exactly. So that's how it ended up. So you can imagine all of this is to answer your question. It took a long time.
Yeah.
It took a long time to get all these things right. I had to, the metal manufacturer is not the same manufacturer that created the box. So the metal manufacturer had to finish the lids, send the lids to another manufacturer, so that the other manufacturer could create prototypes for me of what the box looked like. And we went through various iterations of that and various problem solving with that. The initial box they sent me, and I have it here, was enormous. It looked like a shoebox. I was like, no, this is unacceptable. We need to go back, and we need to fix this. So, I had somebody do technical drawings, and look, I've had some great luck with Fiverr. Fiverr's fantastic. If you guys are familiar, right?
Yeah.
So one of the best things about Fiverr is you can find really talented people at a reasonable rates, reasonable than rates they set. So you don't feel bad about it. Like, you're not haggling them down. Like, hey, this is what it costs. Cool.
Right.
And that's how I found the Tatev, the sculptor of the coronation sculpt. And actually the voiceover artist in my trailer for this new project, the English voiceover.
Nice.
Was a voiceover artist that I found on Fiverr. But I hired somebody to do mechanical drawings, and this was a nightmare. Like, this person, I'm sorry, it was a struggle to explain to them. I had to basically draw the mechanical drawings myself to send to him just so that he could transfer them. Like, it was a bit of a nightmare, but ended up finally getting it right. So, and I sent over the new plans over to the factory, and the factory came back, and there were some issues with the lacquer. It wasn't thick enough on the sides. You could feel the raised, the foil, the inlays, the metal foil inlays. You could feel the texture of them underneath the lacquer. And I was like, no, that's no good. It needs to be smooth.
Yeah.
So
you want that black piano finish. Yeah.
Yeah. They were like, no, we can't do it smooth. I'm sorry. You can't do what? Do I need to find another manufacturer? They got it smooth.
Yeah.
you know, and you know, the color didn't match. Like the color of the foil inlays on the side didn't match the lid. There's small variances with these things that happen just naturally, like from one batch to the next, whatever. We had to solve that problem. So yeah, so the cover, the lid also needed to be in match and tone with the sides, you know. So now the sides are perfectly smooth. Now the foil inlay is beautifully created. Now the bottom of the box is felted. Now the thumb grooves are where they needed to be. Now the interior of the box slots were correct. There's still work to be done. Like there's still fixes to be made. I've made a small list of things that I want to improve from this, even from this version, even from the version that ended up being in all the videos. I just think that there's room for improvement. And I have taken it upon myself to justify the price tags that I offer. And the way to justify the price tags that I offer is to have an unyielding, unrelenting, striving for creating products that are irrefutably, indefeatable, like undefeatable. Like these things are perfect in every way.
And that shows in all of your projects, though. I mean, I think the one thing that people, obviously, other than the names you work with and the beauty you bring to it, I think there's something that goes along with the name, The Gentleman Wake, and its quality.
Right.
And it's because at the core of it too, you didn't start this as a producer. You started this as a collector, and you
Correct.
tap into that saying, okay, well, how would I feel if this came and it looked like this?
I wouldn't feel very good if it's not perfect.
Yeah, and you know what? And sometimes, some people say, hey, it's good enough. At the same time, all it takes sometimes is a little bit of pushing back. Like you said, oh, we can't smooth the sides out. It's like, well, then maybe we got to find a different solution there.
Exactly.
People are willing to work with
I'll be honest with you. That cost an extraordinary amount of money to make that change. Like in the grand scheme of things, how many boxes would I have to sell to make that money back? Quite a few.
Yeah.
But to me, it was worth it. Because to me, I knew that I am building a brand, and brands are only as good as their products.
100%.
And if my product is perfect, that's hopefully a customer I am making that will continue to be my customer for life, that will follow me around no matter what I do. Because guess what? I promised them that I would give them something that was worthy of their $500, and I did.
Yeah.
So that's my kind of philosophy when it comes to these things.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a point, and you, like Tyler was saying, with your brand, Tyler and I have worked on Kickstarter. We've worked on production side of things, and we know how difficult it is to communicate with these people who, whether it's a language barrier, a time zone difference. Just getting measurements right. When I did my collector's box, oh my God, dude, I can't even imagine going back and forth with a sarcophagus when it took me 4 or 5 months to do my collector's box, which is something they've done before. I just altered it a little.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
I can't stress the amount of work that goes in, even picking a color and a foil or whatever for a tuck box.
Well, joke's on you there, Steve, because Omar didn't want to pick a color, so he went with all the colors.
It was. We'll get to that in a second. Part of this production process, right, was finding a new tuck box partner.
Yeah.
Because obviously I had worked with Oath playing cards on Parlor and on Tempest, and I love Lautrec. I think he's a great human being, but we all understand that certain issues have happened that have delayed things, and I just couldn't afford it.
He's a victim of his own success at this point.
Yeah, and he's really busy. Exactly, he's very busy, and he just didn't have the time. And so we mutually came to the agreement that, hey, this project would be something that I would pursue with another vendor. And so I started to shop around. I reached out to Clove Street Press. They were also very busy. Unfortunately, I couldn't really get much going with them. I know they've done some spectacular work for Art of Play. I was looking forward to the possibility of maybe working with them. Yeah. I reached out to Bosquiero and Newton, which is a very popular choice now. We're seeing a lot of, Lorenzo included, seeing a lot of designers using Bosquiero, and they're doing a fantastic job with their tuck boxes. And I know Elettra has worked with them, and they've just done a really good job. right?
Yeah.
Like, and they were responsive, and they were in the middle of a couple of projects, so you know, I needed answers quicker than, unfortunately, and I think that even they could get me. You know,
I
even
think
though
that
there
I
was
think that I think Mosquito and Clove Street are like the two.
They're
most
the
popular.
go-tos.
They're
at
the
this point, yeah.
go-tos right
Yeah,
now at
yeah.
the top of their game.
Right, and also the one that
paying
Theory
for it.
11 uses, the name is escaping me. Something
They
fire.
don't even.
Yeah.
Nobody can use them anyway. But
Yeah,
Theory 11,
right.
so
They're
it doesn't
specific
matter.
to Theory 11.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was kind of the initial plan. I was going to use them. You know, I figured, hey, it makes sense to be in Europe for these tuck boxes because I always use Cartamundi. I like Cartamundi. Cartamundi is my preferred manufacturer of playing cards. I think they are the best. That's my opinion. I know some people will disagree with me. I want to produce the best product that I can, and Cartamundi to me produces the best product. So I knew that I was going to be in Europe for production of the cards. So it made sense for shipping and costs and all that stuff. That if I use Close Street Press, they're in San Diego. Guess what? That's a hefty shipping to get thousands of tuck boxes across the world, right?
Yep.
But if I'm in Italy, not so bad. So I looked for some other options in Europe, and I reached out to Fabian Barral. You might know him as Mr. Cup.
Yep.
Mr. Cup has done some projects in the past that have been very successful or successful enough. And he uses Studio Pression in France.
And I think hasn't Cantrell used them also in the past?
Cantrell, they did it was Mr. Cup did some kind of calendar, something that Cantrell designed, and he printed it through Studio Pression. So there was some relationship, but it wasn't a deck relationship. And Studio Pression up to this point had done the tuck boxes for Mr. Cup.
Right.
That's it.
Okay.
Like there wasn't any other options, any other examples of their collaborative efforts in that respect. But they did have plenty of experience. And one of the things I knew that they did, which Bosquero does not do yet, is sculptural embossing. And I knew sculptural embossing was something Kevin wanted. He had an experience with the standards with sculptural embossing, and I wanted to provide that for him. And it was something that I knew would be cool. So yeah, I absolutely, you know me, I'm all about it. So what can we do? And I reached out to Studio Pression, and they immediately, like 100%, gave me the customer service that I wanted.
Nice.
And that's how we started. And now they're gonna reap the benefits, because guess what? They're just like Cartamundi. And when I find somebody that I really like, I'm gonna hit that nail on the head as many times with that hammer as possible, and we're gonna print some other stuff moving forward. But they were very responsive to me, and they listened to what I wanted, and they bought the papers that I wanted, and all that stuff, and the colors that we needed, and we started to print some tuck boxes, and we knew some things for sure. Like we knew like the white box was gonna use those colors. Like, hey, I know that the white box, it's an off-white. It's not even white. It's like a snow white.
It's a beautiful box.
Yeah, it's pretty great. It's a beautiful design, and on top of the fact the colors just bring it out. It looks like a stained glass window, right?
Yeah.
And that was the point. And so we set out to do that, and we knew that we wanted those things, but there were things that we didn't know, like what the color of what foils and what colors we were going to use on the Dynasty, and we didn't know what colors we were going to use on the Prism. I knew there had to be holographic elements to that, but I didn't know what they were going to be. And we're still making changes. I believe, if I'm not incorrect, the versions you guys have black foil, whereas the final version of the deck, as presented in the video, as presented on the page, has purple foil.
Okay.
So we've made some changes. We always do that, right? We're always constantly tweaking. And hey, we're using black foil on the Dynasty decks. We're using a hollow black foil, which looks beautiful on the green.
I gotta say, man, that is absolutely spectacular.
We have the hollow black foil.
That one's going out that way. That's exactly what that one's going to look like when it goes to people's hands.
And the hollow is so subtle on it. You almost have to like double take to be like, wait, did I catch that? Is it just black? It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. So I think that subtlety is a lot of what we wanted, right? We wanted like, we don't want to be in your face. Somebody said to me that when they first saw the hollow foil on the Gentleman Wake on the Prism deck, on this particular one that they were like, wow, I've never seen a tasteful use of hollow foil before, and you guys managed it. And I was like, okay, well, that's a nice compliment. Thank you. We're happy, to that effect. Of course, I have had other decks with hollow foil. I guess you didn't like those, but okay. But I guess whatever. You got to deal with it.
You know what? That's the part about creating. You can't take it personal, right?
Yeah,
No.
they also might have not have seen your other hollow
Yeah, they
foil
might
deck.
not. They might not, and they might not have seen other examples of hollow foil that I think are quite nice. That,
Yeah,
hey,
like the Vision.
I
They haven't seen
actually
that
just ordered. I actually just ordered the Fontaine SpongeBob with the hollow foil because I think
There you
that's a
go.
fucking great deck. I mean, it's really fun. And I can't wait to use the 2 hours later in my review.
I actually saw a video from Judd Apatow, which, if for anyone who doesn't know, amazing director, has done some great movies. And it was on a masterclass, and one of the titles of his videos in it were "The Audience Isn't Always Right," and it made me realize, and I think this goes with like the whole playing card creation and everything. In a creator, you know what? You may create something and you have the perfect vision, and not everyone's going to get it. And so if they don't like it, you can't take it personal because they're just not in the same vein as you.
Yeah, exactly. So no,
Their palate isn't refined yet.
There you go.
Right. So we were lucky enough to find a partner, a tuck box partner, printing partner that we are happy with. And
Nice.
and I told them, I
It's not
said,
always
I have
easy.
some things happening now in the future. We talk about it a little later that are potentially very lucrative for you. I told them, and now we're moving forward. So we're happy. We're happy with that. And ultimately, the product speaks for itself. I think the sculptural embossing they did was fantastic, and I was right there with them step by step. The best part about working with them for me was that we immediately had like a WhatsApp chat going, right?
Yeah.
And in the WhatsApp chat, he was like asking, like, his English is great. I actually initially I was a little worried because obviously they're in France. I talked to Fabian, Mr. Cup's English is pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. You can defend himself, so to speak. And I was like, wow, I might need your help. Communicating. Turns out JC, my contact over, speaks better English than Fabian does. Like,
There you go.
so it was even Fabian was like, damn, your English is very good. I'm like, he's like, yeah, you never spoke English to me before.
That's funny.
That's funny. That's
we
really
speak
funny.
French. But
Oh, my gosh.
but yeah, so constant communication, step by step, sending me videos of what the plate engraving looked like.
Nice.
Really going through the process of like figuring out what the sculptural emboss looked like, all that stuff, right? And then he did it, and it happened, and he would send me images as he was printing the different foils. It's like, hey, what do you think of this color? And what do you think of this color? What do you think of this color? So it was really fun. It was the fun part. That's the fun part of doing these kind of things, like when you start getting into those areas, And then concurrently with all that, I was having Cardamundi print prototypes, which I convinced them to do cold foil prototypes. Nuts. Like, I don't even know how I did that, but they agreed. I told them, I said, hey, I'm going to print the deck with you. It's going to happen. I really would love to have the highest quality. Again, it's going to cost me money. I know that, but I would love to have the highest quality prototypes. I tried MPC. I spent like $400 on MPC prototypes. Yeah. What a waste of money. Yeah. It's like throwing $400 out the window. I'll never do that again. I won't ever do that again. Even if I have to spend thousands of dollars to get prototypes printed by Cardamundi, I don't care. Yeah. They're just bad. They don't handle right. They look terrible. There's not a good approximation of what the final product is going to look like.
Well, and that's a lot of the difference in printing, I mean, and
absolutely.
you can't overcome that. I mean,
no.
What a printer like Cardamundi or USPCC is going to be able to put out versus someone who does digital printing is always going to be night and day, no matter how much they evolve and try and make it comparable.
No, absolutely. And at the end of the day, I knew Cardamundi was going to be the final producer of these cards. So what better way to show the public, what better way to show my potential backers than to include images of the cards as they would come out. Now, there were some limitations. Okay. Limitation number one, they only wanted to print one deck. That's a problem because I've got 6.
Yeah.
Okay. How do we solve this problem? Putting our problem solver hats on, and I know you guys have the decks in front of you, so you know how I solved the problem. I produced a deck that had 9 to 10 cards of each variant back design.
Yep.
So although the faces are different, because you can't have, the faces. Obviously, you can't have all 52 faces represented if you're doing this kind of thing, especially when 2 of the decks don't have cold foil and 4 of them do on the faces. You have to get creative, but that's okay because mine knew that what I wanted to do was to have a deck that was picture worthy, film worthy, and I think we achieved that. And they gave me that ability to do that. And one of the other, obviously one of the other compromises we made is there was no hollow foil. We cannot do the hollow foil. It was just too expensive for them to set up the machine for hollow foil. And I was like, understood, no worries. I will let everybody know that on the Prism deck, it's hollow foil, although it's silver in prototypes. And in the pictures, you can't even really tell because we used a hollow foil gilded dummy deck underneath for photographs. We couldn't gild them. That's another limitation. Obviously, certain decks are gilded in gold, some aren't gilded at all. So how are we going to do that? It was impossible. So all of those limitations happened, and we arrived where we arrived, but it allowed us the combination of all those things. Studio Presión, my manufacturers in China, all that took forever, but it was really worth it, and really exciting. Yeah, the Jokers they're amazing,
just amazing. And I mean, again, you don't see this kind of print job on a prototype there. They are beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
That's going to be the final. I mean, it'll be better because the cutting. These particular prototypes, the way Cardamundi prints them and cuts them is not the same as they cut their final.
Yeah, they still look better than UPC.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, the registration is on, so
the registration is close. There's a couple of decks that I opened that were like, it could be a little better. But again, this is not their final process. This is a prototype process, and I know that they're gonna. I know because I've printed 2 decks with them prior that they're gonna nail it and knock it out of the park. So. And also like once they're gilded, it's just going to be, night and day. Right. So I was really happy once I got these in hand, once I got the tuck boxes in hand, once I got the metal components in hand, that I was going to be able to accurately show off my vision to people. And it cost a lot of money, man. It cost a lot of money to part of the, here's the thing about Kickstarter. And I know Steve and Tyler, you guys know this.
Thank you, Leo.
Leo, we love you, buddy.
Thank you.
The amount of money that you raise on a Kickstarter campaign, to the average audience member, to the viewer at home, to the person following the project, they look at it as profit.
Yeah.
Whatever your number is.
I wish.
$657,000 on Lord of the Rings. Wow, Jackson's killing it. Yeah. Now, what they don't think about is how much his licensing fee is, because I promise you it's quite high. Yeah. So there are factors when it comes to these things that people don't consider. The process of getting this project live was an investment, was a serious investment. And I kept saying this to a lot of people. This was the most ambitious playing cards project I had ever done by far. Yeah. Potentially one of the most ambitious done, period. I know there have been some others. Steve Minty does some pretty ambitious things. All those guys, there's people out there, Lorenzo with Eye of the Ocean. I mean, come on, like that was super ambitious, but there aren't many of us doing these kind of like crazy, outlandish packages, right? Yeah. So that require all these kind of moving parts a lot, so to us, and even like if Steve, that with your deluxe box, the process that takes. So all these things take a lot of time. TCC does it a lot too. I mean, Arc Playing Cards does it a lot too, where they're doing like these really cool designs. Yeah. And that's kind of where I feel like you can make a name for yourself in the playing cards world, is you're doing different things, you're doing unique things.
It's an arms race at the top.
Yeah, it is. It's an arms race.
It's awesome now.
Yeah, it's an arms race. And licenses is another way of doing that, and that's something that I'll look into in the future, definitely after seeing Jackson's meteoric campaign. Yeah. Just the amount of backers he had is just crazy.
Yeah, awesome.
6,000 backers. It's a phenomenal amount of backers. So, the process of putting this stuff is expensive. Putting this stuff out there is expensive. And I don't do renders. I don't like that. I think I'll give you an example. I love Giovanni Moroni's work. I think he's a brilliant artist, but he relies on renders. And I don't know. I think that's hurting him.
A render, because I think with a photograph, you're getting some emotion out of it. You're getting some vibe out of it. Texture. You may not love the deck, but you are looking at the picture and you can be swayed.
Yeah.
A render always is going to fall flat in comparison to
Yeah, I think
photograph.
the
I mean,
texture aspect
yeah,
is an important aspect. Like
absolutely.
when you can feel the texture in a photograph you can kind of sense what something feels like.
Yeah. And
All
you
those
can't
things are important.
replicate that, no
No,
matter
and I
how
could have
good
done a
you are.
render. I could have easily done a render of the sarcophagus box and saved myself a couple thousand, probably thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
But I knew I was going to, I knew if it funded, I was going to have to create it anyway. So I was like, screw it, I'm going to take the risk.
And honestly, better to take the risk early, have it in hand, and know what the problems are. Then God forbid you produced it first run.
Oh,
man,
how
you
much
printed
longer
all,
would fulfillment have taken, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and think about it this way. What if at the end of it, you knew how long it was going to take, and you're like, oh man, I don't know if I can prototype it for myself. You get it, and the sides aren't smooth, and this goes out to everyone.
Oh no,
That would have
the
been catastrophic.
Yeah, it would have been bad.
Yeah.
So now I know exactly what the product looks like, and yeah, there are improvements to be made, but I know that the improvements that need to be made are well within the realm of possibility. Like they're easy to do, and it's not like I'm calculating how to get 37 millimeters down to 24. Like I'm not doing that now, But anyway, it's an expensive process, and people look at those numbers. They look at the project, the Kickstarter numbers, and they think, oh, well, these guys killing it. Like, God, that's a lot of money, without realizing how much money it's going to cost to actually produce. Or
dude, I posted right after my campaign, and I did this just to let people know, on my campaign, my shipping alone was 13% of my funding goal.
Yeah,
and it's like that's actually low.
Well,
that's
I'll give
actually low.
On Tale of the Tempest, we spent $27,000. On shipping and fulfillment.
Yeah. And people don't understand. So not only is it shipping fulfillment, obviously Kickstarter takes their fee, with
Stripe takes their percentage.
Yeah.
Backer Kit takes their percentage.
Backer Kit, like if people don't, and then
there's a lot of hands in the pot. There's a lot of hands in the pot that didn't do much.
IRS takes their percentage, but I mean, and the production costs a lot of money. Like Cardamundi's not cheap. The tuck boxes are not cheap. We did a shit ton of extras. We did coins, we did metal cards, we did the Wylenti decks at $9.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's the thing. You can look at this piecemeal even, and the comment I would say there is coins are probably one of the least expensive things to manufacture, not design, but once you have the design, coin manufacture is probably the least expensive part of it all.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, you're taking the profit from the coins to help buffer something else. Exactly. And so it's like, hey, I want this box to be XYZ. You take out some of the other stuff that would have played with the cost. Yeah.
And Tyler, in every campaign I've ever done, I've given coins away for free.
Yeah.
So if I'm giving coins away for free, guess what? It's costing me money.
Yep.
It doesn't matter how cheap it is. And yeah, I might sell it on the website $10 or $11 a year or two later. Maybe I recoup some of that cost. But ultimately, I'm giving them away for free. And I've promised at 300% funding for the Successor that I'm giving a coin away for free.
Yeah, and you can't control that if you get quoted on, 20,000 decks, you get quoted on shipping that it's going to cost this amount of money.
No, in 6 months, it may be vastly more.
Then all of a sudden, COVID hits and you have to pay $4,000 more.
Exactly. We stressed. I mean, I remember my wife and I talking about when we were leading up to the Tempest fulfillment, and we were stressed.
Yeah.
Because at that point, it had been over. Think about how long it had been, right? The campaign ran at the October, November of 2020. And it fulfilled just at the end of the year, 2021. So, and there were still people getting stuff in April of this year. Okay. So we started fulfillment in December, and some people in Europe got their stuff early, but other people had to be very patient and wait like 2 or 3 months, even longer, to get their stuff in the US and whatnot. So that means that a project that initially was scheduled to take 9 months to fulfill took a year and 6 months to fulfill. That money starts to run out.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Costs happen, things happen, like it is it. And I said it, like, I'm the type of person where it's like, I knew that I needed the money for later. So it didn't move. It was sitting in the bank account for a year and a half. I knew that the way to do it cost, but the profits that are left over, I was hoping would be higher than what that ended up being.
Yeah, they shrink every day. They shrink every day.
All of those costs accumulate, and the fulfillment ended up being ridiculously expensive, in part because of the delays.
Yeah.
So,
dude, I spent $4,000 more for my collector's box shipping than what I
Yeah.
planned
Then
on
you
and was
stand-
quoted
and-
on.
Oh God, I'm terrified of what the sarcophagus is going to do.
I do have to say, the other day I got a notice that shipping in the US was starting to go down. That may also just be temporary, especially with gas prices going up. I don't know how that's possible. But yeah, dude, it's there's so many moving parts to this that I think people don't realize from the consumer
No,
end.
and guys, and I
that's
know that
yeah.
you guys have know this, but like I have people who complain to me on forums and stuff like that about shipping costs being high.
You can't
Why
do
do I
anything
have to
about
pay
that.
$55 for shipping on this box? Do you realize it weighs 6 pounds?
So,
Yeah.
and one thing I think people don't also realize, though, too, very frequently, you don't make money on shipping. And
No.
in the United States, you're actually consumer protected against people upcharging shipping. Shipping is a cost. It is a cost that there is no padding to support us. We don't get shipping and handling like a lot of these places that do
Yeah.
$19.99 shipping and handling, and it's $2
Right.
to ship. That
Right.
shipping fee you're paying is pretty much spot on. So any fluctuation in that,
Well, one of the things that
Yeah.
I do, I offer in the United States and Germany free shipping.
yeah, dude, and that's free to
gotta be
them, not
rolled
to
into the
you.
pot.
Yeah, that's free to
Yeah.
them, not to you. And
Yeah.
it's tough. It's
But
really tough.
regardless, you're still paying that upwards of 20%
Yeah.
of your goal to shipping, whether it's free or not. You're paying it.
Yep.
Yeah. So all of this is to say what we all know, and what we hope the people watching figure out, that these campaigns are very costly,
Yeah.
and sometimes the more elaborate and the bigger the campaign, it feels like it's all this money, but it's really tight. It's
Yeah.
tight. The margins aren't really enough. So I'm excited, to kind of bring this all back around. The production happened. We got the prototypes done. We got the campaign ready. And it went out into the world, and it was very well received. And we're up to $261,000 in funding right as of right now,
Awesome.
with 2 days down. So we're 2.5 days in. So we still got 28 days or something like that left. And I don't know where it's going to go. With Kickstarter, we all know this. There's this huge push in the first day where it's an enormous outpouring of support, and we love it. It's fantastic, and it makes you feel really, really good. It also makes you feel very confident. And then the reality of day 2 happens, right?
Yeah.
Where that percentage comes way down. That backer conversion rate comes way down. And you have to deal with it, and you have to be ready. And so somebody asked me, "Hey, how do you feel?" Shit, like people in my personal life who are following the campaign because they're friends and family, and they want what's best for me. How do you feel? You're killing it. And I want, you want to be like, oh man, it's so awesome, like we're doing so, but you can't. You have to stress.
You have
It's
to.
an ongoing stress experience.
Especially when you're looking at the dashboard and you're seeing people drop off.
Well,
yeah.
For
No, I
whatever
can't
reason,
stand it.
it's not like you're like fuck them. You're like you understand people go through things, their budgets
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
Some people just do it to fuck with you. Like
Yeah.
they'll back something and then 3 seconds later they'll drop it. But
Yeah.
it is
get-
what it is.
you
what
get a
it
pure
is.
you get a pure view into the consumer and shopping regret that people have in this day and age. And it's because it's funny too, because you think about it even from the consumer side. I know people check out like Kick Track and things like that, and you'll be like, oh, well, they're up $300 today. That's awesome. But what you don't see is they're up net $300 because they lost $600 and gained another 915 people left, and another 13 came in. Yeah.
Or they're up 300, but guess what? They spent 600 in marketing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they're down. They're really down 300.
One thing that people don't understand, is let's say for an example, let's say your goal is $20,000. Right? And that's you just creating the deck for people at 20K.
Right.
And
I don't even know that you could.
Designer fees, shipping, Kickstarter, like you roll all that into the goal. And then all of a sudden you fund for your goal like $100 over your goal.
Right.
And then 10 days in, you realize that $600, $700, $800 of the backers, they didn't fix their credit card.
Clear. Right.
They didn't clear, and then they ghosted. They, whatever. So that's $900 less than your goal automatically. So people don't realize that. When I posted the shipping price someone messaged me and they're like, "Is that included in your goal?" I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
included
crazy.
in your goal." And
Steve,
you don't
I don't know how
see.
you did it. I mean, I know it was a small project in scope because it was 2 decks. But I don't know how you did it. I know that I feel like you're going to be
Bro.
out of pocket a little bit.
You know what? I made it so I had a couple, like I literally, with everything, with the money that I lost for people backing out after the campaign, the credit cards that didn't
Yeah,
go
yeah, yeah, yeah.
through.
Yeah.
I'll probably be lucky if I break even for sure.
Well, the one difference is even if you're out of pocket, your stock will be there, right? You'll have stock to sell.
I'm not. I didn't get a lot of stock. No.
Oh, really?
For the purpose of, I want people to come to Kickstarter because they're getting something for Kickstarter.
Sure.
I don't want to have all this stock after.
Yeah.
I want you to back my Kickstarters because that's where you're getting my decks. I'm not going to have a lot.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to have like 30 decks after the fact.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Other than that, you buy, dude. So the standard is numbered 1 to 676.
Right.
So there's only 676 of those standard decks, and the gilded is 1 to 224. So if you got a deck, dope.
Yeah.
If not,
that's cool. Well, I got them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no,
I'll be happy to get mine. So. But with my philosophy up to this point with Kickstarter has been to have decks that are exclusive, to have not exclusive to Kickstarter, but exclusive in their scarcity, right? Yeah. Like limited decks, 777 printed, like the Dynasty decks, or 400 or 200, like in the Tempest Prism, like all of those. I want that because I think that that's valuable, but I also wanted to have stock first. And I opened my website, thegentlemanwake.com, recently, the web store on the website. And now I have parlor decks and Tempest decks for sale. And they're, not a lot, but there's enough to keep it going for a while. Right. And the goal is eventually, hey, you have enough decks on your page that people come to your web store for one of them and end up buying 6. Right. Like, okay, that's good. That's a nice little bit of passive income, right? You've done the work on these. Yeah. They're just sitting in a fulfillment center somewhere.
And that really is where a lot of that comes into play, I think, is that backstock that you have over is because again, the idea behind Kickstarter isn't that you make a ton of money. And I think people lose sight of this. It's not that you're going to make a ton of money on the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter in theory pays for the production. Obviously there's some overage there, but that's not the, but I mean, and to use round numbers here, say you end up with 1,000 decks extra that are unaccounted for. Those 1,000 decks become pure profit decks other than shipping associated with it. That's what the hope is, really, I think, for most people. And those numbers really do make it hard for people to realize that.
Yeah, I know Jackson's in he was in here in the chat earlier. He was talking about spending $46,000 on shipping.
On shipping.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So, but crazy. Jackson could speak to this. Like, I know Jackson's made, it looks like Jackson made a killing on this Lord of the Rings deck, and he did. The campaign did phenomenal.
Yep.
I mean, no doubt about it. But 6,000 people, that's a lot of fulfillment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a lot of fulfillment. And production costs are going to be high. And
dude,
he's got a team of people that he's got to pay.
He has to pay his
employees.
Yeah, 12 of 15, 20 of them.
It's a lot. And like I mentioned earlier, I don't know what it is. I'm sure it's a significant chunk, but there's a licensing fee that he's paying on each deck that he sells.
Yep.
Whatever that is, if it's $5, $2, $10, I don't know, but it's a lot. And that has a massive effect when your product costs $20 and your licensing fee is 25% of that. What does that do to your $600,000 funding? It takes 25% of it away.
Yeah. It's another hand in the pot.
And exactly. 10% of it goes to Kickstarter off the top.
Exactly. So it's I don't want to sound ungrateful because I'm extremely grateful. At 261,000. Let me just put this in perspective. When I launched the Tempest, we raised $194,000 in 30 days. Our campaign this time around raised $250 in 24 hours.
Yeah.
So I'm going in the right direction. Now, the Tempest wasn't as expensive as the Successor is going to be to produce. Right. It was also probably it's not going to be as expensive to, it wasn't going to be as expensive as the Successor will be to fulfill and to ship all that stuff.
Those
So,
heavy boxes, man.
right.
Yeah.
But hey, if the best thing you can want, the thing you can want more than anything is progression as a business person.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is to feel like you're moving in the right direction. Is to generate, like, again, like, I feel like even if I broke even on this and didn't make a single dollar, and right now I'm profitable, I'm not gonna lie. Like, at $261,000, we are profitable, not crazy profitable, but profitable. And at the end of the day, even if all I did was break even, it'd be worth it, because the product would be out in the world and people would get to know me and get to know the Gentleman Wake and understand that the Gentleman Wake is going to be a player in the business, and we are going to work with the best designers as we have and put out phenomenal products and hopefully generate a cultish following like Jackson has, like Jackson's managed to create. And we are way behind in Jackson in terms of releases, but I think he sets a good example, and Theory 11 sets a good example. Like, hey, how has Theory 11 managed to be who they are today, and how can they even afford to do $9.99 for a deck? But their volume is just enormous.
Volume, low
When-
margins,
When
low
you pay a
margins, and
dollar,
volume.
when you pay $1 a deck, like with the tuck box, you can charge $9.99.
Yeah, well, part of it is they don't spend on bells and whistles, and they don't make limited editions. They
And that's their
sell
brand
as many
now.
as they want.
That's their brand.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it, you know what though, if anything else here, and I think you made a good point though about this campaign's success versus previous campaign success. I think to me though, that goes to show how much you really are thinking, not just for the now, but for the future as well. And I have no doubt that every campaign you're going to see that continued growth in your success. I also see your wife popping into the chat.
Yes.
So hello.
She's probably clarifying something I said that it didn't sound good.
Oh, no, she's just answering someone's question.
The decks themselves will be more expensive as well, particularly the ones with the metal. And honestly, I think that's the interesting thing about it. And I think this actually shows a great point in the chat as well. Each deck itself, because of the variation you have in the foil and the sculptures on the tuck and all that, each deck doesn't have a fixed cost. So to print all of the decks, even to say, okay, well, the non-foil
it's a
versus the
median
foil.
cost.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the tough part with that too, because not everyone's great at the median estimation initially. And that's where we sometimes see campaign creators, get into trouble. Like I said, things can come out of pocket at the end of the day.
Oh, I'm absolutely treating this 100% like any other business. And I've got spreadsheets upon spreadsheets of every cost, of every penny, of understanding what my margins are and everything, and knowing where my estimations are. And unfortunately, they have to be estimations of what my fulfillment costs are going to be, and what my, you have to treat it that way.
Yeah.
You have to treat it that way.
The problem is people, another thing, is with the cost of shipping, let's say it's 20%, right? You're charging as low as shipping as possible, because you want to make it so people are, enthusiastic about shipping. And
right. Not dissuaded by the shipping costs.
But Kickstarter charges their 10% on full shipping as well. So if you're charging $6 in shipping for a deck, which nowadays it's, a little less than $6 a deck, Kickstarter is taking a percentage out of that shipping as well. So, people just need to realize that every way that money is coming out of your campaign, it's coming out before you even get to produce your tiers.
Absolutely. And then, it's a process, and you learn, and you really do have to treat it like a business, and not screw around with that stuff. But the median cost is a thing. You need to be aware of that, and understanding that the different decks are going to cost different amount of money, and different, all that stuff. So definitely. Somebody's mentioning here saying that the rarest TGW deck will be that prototype deck, and you're absolutely right. Only 50 were made, and only 29 were made available to the backers. So there you go, that one deck in your hand. So what we're doing for the prototype, this is an idea that I had.
So cool.
Yeah, this is an idea that I had with the prototype deck that I thought of after I knew I needed them for photos and videos, and they were going to happen, but I knew I didn't need 50, and 50 was my minimum order.
Right.
So guess what? I thought, well, wouldn't it be great to mitigate some of the cost of this, of these prototype decks, by offering them as an incentive to get the highest tier. So we set aside what we could, which was 29, and what we're doing is we're giving everybody exclusive, quote unquote, rejected tuck boxes.
Nice.
So these are so everyone who gets a prototype deck is going to get one of whatever they are. I don't know how there might be 2 or 3 of these in the world, right? With a specific tuck box that we tried something with that we liked, but ultimately didn't choose.
That's really cool.
So this one's got 2 gold foils and no other colors. It's red. It's the red deck. This one will go out to somebody. Another one that's really cool. One of my favorite ones is this one with the mint green foil and gold foil.
Yeah.
Which ended up not being the one we chose. We like that black hollow foil too much to not use it. And we wanted to keep gold as the primary offset for green, right? The Dynasty is green and gold. That is the sub brand of the Dynasty deck. So we ended up trying this and deciding that it wasn't for us, but it looks really cool. And guess what? Somebody's going to get a prototype deck. And not only that, but the prototype decks are all going to be hand signed and numbered by me on the inside flap.
Nice.
And the decks themselves will be cellophaned and packaged from Cardamundi directly with the different variants. So it's like a best of collection almost. So it's actually really cool. It's actually a very cool thing. I think something that hopefully maybe in the future I'm going to keep going with.
Tyler, I think we have to do a little John Hancock of his.
Yeah, exactly.
Forge it under the bottom.
I'm happy.
We gotta forge the Gentleman Wakes.
I'm happy
Hancock.
to put a signature on that for you. So if you want to send it back.
Well, you know what? We're not going to send it back. We're going to take a trip to Miami because we'll wait till the fall when it starts to get cold out by me, so we have a reason to stay warm. But we'll make that happen for sure. Oh my gosh! So and now for the toughest question of the night here, Omar.
Yes.
You got a bunch of variations here. What's your favorite color of these?
Wow. There are so many. There's a bunch of answers to that.
Am I missing any?
God, they look so cool, right? Don't they just look cool?
Dude, they look gorgeous.
Really cool. Yeah.
We might start seeing just stacks of tucks being sold soon.
Yeah, my favorite are obviously the 3 more scarce versions. I mean, there's no doubt. The Dynasty for me, it holds a special place in my heart. It's like I mentioned, it's a sub brand of the TDW brand. Something that I hope to always have moving forward.
So good looking.
You know, like if you own the Parlor Dynasty and you own the Tempest Dynasty, you will be proud to add the Successor Dynasty to that list. And I think hopefully that will be the case moving forward, right? With every deck that I ever make. So that one has a special piece of my heart in there. But the 2 decks with the metal plates are my favorite. They're both beautiful. The purple one obviously has the Dynasty tuck box underneath the sleeve, and the white one has the regular S ambergram back design, which is, I think it might be the best one. Honestly, the Monarch White might be the best deck that we've ever produced, just because it's got that gold relief sculpt. And unfortunately, I didn't have enough prototypes of the gold sculpt to send you one. I would have. But I mean, look at this thing. Look,
that is dope.
Like, see if I can get this to focus.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it's gorgeous. It's just like a thing of beauty, and it looks really cool. And when you pop it open, and you've got the amazing tuck box underneath, and plus the big Gentleman Wake on it. Like, it's just it's a cool thing. It's a good thing, and I think it's fun.
When's your face gonna make a little?
I don't know. We did that on the parlor. We did that on the parlor, and one is enough.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna be one of those guys like
get your face on everything.
Daniel Madison or
I hear you.
or David Blaine. I'm not that famous. Let's just put it that way.
Not yet. Let's not limit yourself. Not yet.
I don't think Daniel Madison's that famous either. Let's be honest, not anymore.
Yeah.
But.
Well,
that's the fine line between is it fame or is it ego, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Honestly, I have to say, Omar, one of the reasons we always love having you on the show is because your wife comes in and drops comments like this here, and it makes my evening. So
the old references.
It's better than the Kanye.
Absolutely.
Yeah. At least I'm not Kanye, right?
Yeah. Exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. Dude, I have to say, for anyone out there who has not checked out this campaign yet, you're definitely missing out. The link is in the description down below, so you should definitely go check it out. Even if you have already supported the Successor, keep an eye on what's coming there, what's going on with it. Look at all the effort and energy that went into this. And I hope that everyone takes away, if nothing else from this, that Omar's not going home at the end of the day with $261,000 in his pocket. This
Not
is
at
a
all.
labor of love, truly. And, I think it's always good to reiterate how much effort and energy and passion goes into these projects. And that's what it really is all about. And I think you are one of the people who really brings that to the table. Like you said, and like we talked about earlier, there's this top tier these days of kind of this arms race of how do you make the next creative thing in playing cards, and you have positioned yourself to be a part of that more so than many people have been. And there definitely are brands that stand out, yours being really one of them. So I'm always
you.
excited to
Appreciate
see a new deck from you, man. I'm always
Heck
excited to
yeah.
see who you're working with, because I think that is also part of the brand, is who's the next designer who the Gentleman Wake is going to be working with. That's part of it. You've really done an amazing job building out this brand, and I am always so excited to see where it goes next.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. We have a lot of things upcoming that I'm really excited about. Like, obviously, right now the focus is on the Successor, and it will be until the end of the campaign. But as soon as the campaign ends, I'm going to start dropping some hints as to what's coming. I mean, I can even, I think we've talked about it briefly. I know some people know that Wittek, that Surgeon Vidakovic, better known as Wittek Design, is already working on the 4th TGW deck.
Yep, there we go.
It's called
dropped it in there.
Yes, it's called the Beetlebacks, and it's an exploration of a very Kafka-esque kind of idea.
Nice.
Theodore G. Williford awoke one day not feeling quite like himself. Ends up feeling ends up becoming a little bit Beatle-esque.
Nice.
So and he's already done the back design for the standard edition and the front of the talk box. It's beautiful. I mean, he's brought his best work, and I'm really excited because I'm a big fan of his work already. He's the detail Devil in the Details is one of my favorite decks of recent memory, and I know the creator decks have just gone out and people are very happy with those, and his he's done some great work, and I wanted to have another artist that could bring their A game, So TGW brand continues there, and we've already got some other stuff lined up. I've got some stuff that I am doing that's exciting because it's a deviation a little bit from what we have done, but also very much in line with what we're doing.
Bringing those passions together in one project.
Yeah, having some collaborations where I will be producing some playing cards for a third party.
Nice.
So that's coming very, very soon, and the announcement for that is coming. But Helm is already guessing, making some may or may not be accurate guesses as to what's going on. But yeah, I think if you follow my channel, you see that there are things that I am bringing to the audience, to the viewers, that are not necessarily about playing cards, but that could be related in the near future. So I think that's exciting. Also, I already have another artist. For the first time, I'm going to be working with an artist that has not produced a playing card deck before.
Okay. Interesting.
This is, obviously, it's going to be a little bit of a departure in that respect, but it's an artist that I respect, that I'm a fan of, and that has done phenomenal work in other worlds and in other realms, and I think would make a phenomenal deck of cards, right?
Awesome.
So that's something that's coming in the future as well. And I also have a couple of other exciting things. I'm going to be working with some very well-known artists. One of these collaborations that we're working on is with I don't know if you're familiar with Dan Greta. He designed the Hudson deck for Theory 11. Yep. So I'm going to be working with him, and I've got some conversations in play, and also Brad Gabbard will be working on something for us.
Very cool, man.
So yeah, we have a lot of stuff happening. So yeah, definitely trying to build a brand, trying to build a company that's going to be sustainable. This will ultimately, hopefully, be my only job one day.
Nice.
Whereas, up until recently, I've taken this month off to focus on the campaign, but up until recently, I'm working for, still taking jobs in editing and television and advertising, because ultimately that's what I did for 20 years. leading up to this.
And you got to pay the bills. Again, Kickstarter's not just dropping big wads of cash in your pocket there. But
no.
I do have one request as
Okay.
it comes to the Gentleman Wake world. And I think this, may require taking a page from Lorenzo with the Eye of the Ocean there. Every time I see these decks, I always kind of get this question in my mind. Is this all in the same universe? Are all of these decks in the same universe?
Interesting.
And I'd love to see the creation of the Gentleman Wake universe, where maybe one day it becomes a book that ties things together, or those connections start becoming more prevalent.
I think that you might see something kind of like that. Ultimately, obviously the TGW to me, aside from being the initials of the brand, TGW for me, I try to incorporate TGW into other ways. We did on the Great Wylenti, obviously. And we are going to do it on the Wittig deck. Obviously, Theodore G. Williford is the initials are TGW.
I love it.
So we try to do that. We haven't done that necessarily with Successor, or at least not yet. Maybe if something might come to me at some point. If we do, we have some lofty stretch goals, but if we do get some lofty stretch goals, I mean, if we hit 500K, there's going to be something cool. I'm going to say that right now. So if you're out there and you're listening and you want to see that happen, maybe we'll go back and adjust your pledge, make it a little higher.
Get on that, because honestly, when Omar tells you there's something amazing in the works there, it never disappoints. So I'd love to see what's going on.
There'll be some surprises in store if we get to that point. Because at that point, it really will be an embarrassment of riches, and we want to give back. Like at that point, right? At 500,000, okay, now we're talking like. Now I'm going to start doing some stuff just because,
and that's what it's all about though, man. Again, it's that love of creation. Devin even had a good idea here too. The TGW lore book. So worst case, if you don't create a whole fantasy realm out of it, which would be my dream, but a lore book to tie it all together and build out a timeline.
What would be interesting? That's not a bad idea, to have a book talking about each project and kind of going over the design elements of each project, and maybe interviews with the designers for each project.
And you know what? This great platform where you could fund that. So
yeah, that's true. Very true.
Oh my gosh, man. Yeah. Omar, it is always an absolute pleasure to have you on. And I like I said earlier, I'm not just trying to shower you with compliments here, but I think they're well deserved. You really put so much energy and effort into these projects that you build out. And I think a big part of it, and you even said it there, it's not about making money. It's a business, yes, but it's a business that you bring passion to. And I think that passion really drives a lot of what you do. And I think that really resonates in everything you put out there. These Kickstarter campaigns are amazing. They're fun. They're energetic. You bring life to them. These decks without you behind them and your personality wouldn't be what they are.
It's that is pretty cool to see that manifested. I will say, like, one of the things, I'm using Jetlip as a marketing partner, and one of the things that they're doing is they're putting out a survey to people who just backed the project, and I'm starting to see some reports of what people are saying, the things that people are saying, why they're backing. And there's a lot of, the decks are beautiful. There's a lot of Kevin Cantrell's amazing, but there's surprising amount of, I like TGW and I believe in what he's doing. Like, that is super gratifying. It really is.
Yeah, and awesome. And as long as you stay true to that, you're going to continue to be just as successful as you are thus far. And I think anyone out there who this is their first introduction to you, if you haven't had a chance to go check out the previous campaigns, check them out. If anyone out there hasn't had a chance to check out this campaign, go check it out. Go follow Omar on YouTube, because he's always putting out fun videos. For everyone out there who just comes out to support these campaigns as well. I think you are really the backbone of these communities, because without the support that everyone brings to these campaigns, Omar and all of the creators like him wouldn't be able to put out the amazing playing card decks and stories and content that they do. So thank you also to everyone out there who takes their hard-earned money and puts it into this strange little niche hobby that we all have and love.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yep. Most definitely.
Thank you so much, buddy.
I really appreciate it, man. I appreciate I love talking about these things and sitting down and having a chat and finding some kindred spirits, right? Like, hey, other people who understand the process and to know.
We're still waiting for our next meeting when Deck 4 comes out. So
yeah, absolutely. You will definitely hear from me.
Well, good, because honestly, we do love having you on here. And I have to say, we always enjoy seeing what new projects are coming out, not only from you, but the community as a whole. And I think, the people who get behind this make it worthwhile. So they keep killing it. You're doing great stuff with it. We love and appreciate everything you do for this community. And we cannot wait to see what you got in the works. So good luck on this one. Anyone out there, again, who hasn't backed the deck yet, go back it. Even if you're just going to support the campaign, any bit helps, because again, this is not just money in pocket. This is a big production effort. And like Omar said, he's going above and beyond anything he's ever done before. I mean,
pick your color, man. If you don't like purple,
get them all. Get them all.
I suggest you all get them all. Yeah.
Actually, if you don't like green, you're still gonna get the whites. But come on, like,
if you can't make up your mind, get them all.
Yeah,
get them all.
If you can't make up your mind, get them all.
I love it.
That's what it comes
Omar,
down. There's not a lot.
Thank you very much for having me, guys.
And also thank you to your amazing wife for coming in and making the chat lively. She is an amazing personality in and of herself. Anyone who hasn't checked out her channel as well doesn't need any plug from me, but you should go check out her channel as well, because she is dropping amazing content all the time. You two are a YouTube powerhouse that just hasn't hit that stride yet, but both of you are going to be crushing plaques soon. I have no doubt about it, man.
Yeah, well, hopefully she can come on and help you out.
She'll definitely throw me some bones with the fans. All right, guys, thank you so much for having me. For real,
thank you, and thank you everyone out there. If you haven't already, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and again, go follow Omar on YouTube and go back the Successor playing card campaign on Kickstarter. You will not be disappointed. Thank you, everyone out there, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Peace.